All right,
Such
we are preparing to
professionals.
live stream.
Woohoo! Hate it. I hate these things. Here it is. Oh man.
Yay! Karen, you might just have to rename yourself because there's two me's right now.
I don't know how to do that. Now you're gone.
Karen, if you go to the three dots in your window.
Hang on.
If you go to,
Please don't talk for just 1 second. Thank you. My stupid computer does this thing where it all goes away, so I don't see anything right now. There we go. Oh, jeez. Where's the ladder? There's the ladder.
There we go.
Okay. Now the three dots.
There we go.
if you go to the upper right hand side of your, yeah.
Rename. It's not letting me.
I think I can rename you. Hold on just a sec.
I've typed it in, but when I hit OK, it doesn't do it. There we go.
There we go. Hi, everybody.
Hi, Mary Ellen.
Hello.
How was the concert?
It was amazing.
Was it last night?
Mm-hmm.
Did you know Brian Victor was there?
Well, I saw from your post. He was actually seated really near me. Like if I look at the picture he posted, he was like 4 sections over from me.
Wow.
But he was farther, he was closer. I was up higher.
Do we have any viewers on?
We do.
Yay. I was going to tell an amusing anecdote about my drive to Rochester today, but I won't take anyone's time. If
Oh,
we
sorry.
have-
Hold on. Sorry. My computer was talking back at me. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
No. I was about to tell an amusing anecdote about my harrowing drive to Rochester in the middle of a tornado today, but we have viewers, so let's get started.
Yes, we are live via both YouTube and on Zoom. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us. If you have never been a part of one of these talkbacks before, you can ask our questions of our panelists via the Q&A button, which is at the bottom of your screen. Just click on that and you can type in a question and I can make sure to pass it along. In case you don't know me, my name is Caitlin McNicka, and I am the Associate Artistic Director at Bristol Valley Theater. Welcome, welcome. And I'm going to introduce you to some of the fine people that made Just the Ticket by Peter Quilter possible. I'll go in order of my Zoom window. First, Mary Ellen.
Hello, everyone. I'm the lighting designer, and I'm also here representing the scenic design team, Christopher and Justin Swader.
Yes, Christopher and Justin are they're already into another tech week at a different theater. So they're off creating even more. So thank you, Mary Ellen. And you're joining us from New York City today?
Oh, yes, I'm in New York City. I'm in Queens at the moment.
Wonderful. Thank you for joining us. Next up is Emma Hedgeman. She is the stage manager for this production. Hi, Emma.
Hello, everybody.
Joining us from Naples, I see.
Yeah.
And of course, we have Pam Fike, who is the actress star extraordinaire of Just the Ticket. Hi, Pam.
Hello, everybody.
Are you in Naples today, or are you home?
No, I'm up in Rochester today. Yes.
Oh, wonderful. Great. And we have, of course, BVT Artistic Director and Director of the show, Just the Ticket, Karen Bowersock.
Hi. I'm in Geneva.
Excellent. We've got all corners of the state represented. So wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us. First thing that we are going to do before we even take any questions or start that, we have a very special surprise. I was lucky enough to get in contact with Peter Quilter, our playwright, who is in the Canary Islands, and I was able to have a conversation with him. So I'm going to share with you an edited version of that interview. So we're very grateful to him, and I'm so excited to share it with you. Hold on, let me get it. See? Sorry, sharing options, don't need that. All right.
Oh,
Cool.
Here we go.
I can't hear you.
Sorry, can't hear it?
Can't hear it.
Oh, sorry about that. I know what I did wrong. Sorry, bear with us, folks. It's been a minute since I had to share things on Zoom. All right, let me get the right thing back here. Just a second. My apologies, everybody. Okay, sorry about that, folks. Here we go. Caitlin McNicka here, Associate Artistic Director, and I am so excited to have Olivier and Tony-nominated playwright and the author of Just the Ticket, Peter Quilter, with us. Hello, Peter. Thank you for joining us.
Hello. It's my pleasure. Nice to be here.
Yes, and all the way, through the miracle of Zoom, we are coming from Naples, New York, all the way to the Canary Islands. So thank you for making time for us. What inspired you to write this as a one person or as a kind of like a monologue play?
It came from, I didn't know it was going to be a monologue when I started it. I just sort of decided, as I started writing it, that it would be good just to stick with this one character and not clutter it up with anybody else, because I just thought that would be fun. I mean, if you look at the kind of body of plays that I've written, and a lot of them are led by women anyway. I mean, I've always written for women. I mean, the most popular plays of mine, End of the Rainbow and Glorious, are both female led. And this really all began just when I started writing, when I just realized that there were very few parts for older actresses. I don't mean old actresses, I just mean older, mature actresses. There's a few things for like younger actresses, but there's not much for sort of middle-aged actresses.
Absolutely. It seems like, we get to like about 30 and then there's a big gap of, between kind of youthful ingenue roles and then kind of
then you have to wait
roles.
till you can do grandmothers. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, Juliet to Lady Bracknell with nothing in between. So yeah, I mean that, and so I actually set about writing a series of plays with good female roles in them. I mean, things are changing now. You start to get better female parts written now. But when I started writing, which I guess was 25 years ago, there really weren't many parts for women. It was really kind of amazing how few parts there were. And so I thought, well, I mean, women are interesting to write for anyway. You can do, well, I'll tell you what it is. It's like I say, it's changing now, but certainly 25 years ago, men were very much a type. And if you write something in period and you go back to the 60s or the 50s, men were more of a type. And if you go back to Victorian era, men were even more of a type. They're all kind of standard types of people. Whereas the women have always kind of been, have much more layers, been much more interesting, and have not been sort of wedged into a mode of behavior in the way that men have during periods of time. And so the female characters were just much more interesting for me. And so that's why I did it. And so that's really where Just a Ticket came from. It's actually motivated by, let's just write a really good part for a woman. I mean, that's basically where it came from. There was no idea. I mean, I just sat down and thought, right, page one, good part for a woman. I mean, that was it, really.
character of Susan just shines with so much joy, and it's really infectious. Is she kind of based on anyone you know, or is she kind of just like an amalgamation of different people?
Yeah, a little bit. When I grew up in London, there's a woman next door who never stopped talking, and I'm still in touch with her, and she's mad as a hat. I mean, she really is. And but I mean, everyone knows that she's a real character in the village where she lives, and she just talks endlessly and puts her foot in it and says the wrong thing all the time. And you see, I'm attracted to people like that. Most people cross the road, but you know, I'm drawn to people like that. And so, although I don't remember having her in mind when writing it, when I watch it now, it's quite clear to me that it's my neighbor, because there's no one in my family that's like that. I come from quite a dull family, bless them. You know, all the very ordinary people, you know, 9 to 5 working people. I mean, I was enough of a struggle for them. The fact that, you know, I didn't become a mechanic, you know, I mean, that was a hard enough challenge, you know. So,
oh God, the parents,
you know,
parents and their artsy kids. Am I right?
yeah. So I mean, you know, so I think she's probably the inspiration for it. But you know, the funny thing is, when you start writing and the character takes over, you bring in all kinds of things. You know, I mean, people ask me sometimes, you know, how much of you is in your plays, and I sort of say to them is you tend not to do it deliberately, but when you're sat in front of a computer and you've got to come up with all of that material, it's really, really hard. And so your brain is like grabbing anything. I mean, so you'll grab people that you met when you were 16 that you haven't thought about for decades, or something that somebody said to you yesterday, or something really personal that happened to a friend of yours 10 years ago that you can't believe you're using, you know. And so I think, you know, the characters are all a compendium of things that have happened and things that I've heard and people that I've met, and they all sort of just go into one big sort of recipe.
And so do you think she ends up with Bill the bartender?
Well, you see, that's all very tricky. You can't, you know, the audience has to answer that question. And it's kind of interesting. We all like a clean ending, don't we? We all like to know exactly what's happening, but sometimes it's better not to. I have it with End of the Rainbow. I have the character of Judy Garland's fiance, who's spends half the show being really, really nasty and half the show being really, really loving. And the audience have to decide for themselves, was he good for her or bad for her? Was he a villain or was he a lover, you know? And I'm not convinced, you know, it's the playwright's job to tell you what conclusions to draw. And so I'm going to stick with that for just a ticket. I'm going to say that, you know, you're going to have to decide for yourself when you see it. And but you know, I think generally people in the world are attracted to warm people. It's just a question of, can you live with them? I think that's the issue. I think we all enjoy the company of an eccentric, but could you live with an eccentric? I think that's the debate. And I mean, the woman that's, you know, the show's loosely based on, I mean, her husband spends all day on his iPad and just, you know, just doesn't engage very much at all. You know, it's just like, oh, she's off again, you know. So, you know, I don't know. I think they probably get together, but does it survive? That's the question. Maybe there has to be a sequel.
Just the fact that we were able to connect with you, you know, all the way across the ocean is exciting, and it's really, really cool, and we're very grateful for you, for your work and for your time.
Cool. No, it's really nice to be here, and you know, I don't think actually the show hasn't been done that much in America. It's done a lot in Europe, in various different languages, and in the States it's had productions, but not too many. So it's really very nice to have it on and to watch it. It's lovely. I hope people enjoy it. I hope they have fun with it. I mean, it's
delightful.
It's deliberately. I've always had this thing. Somebody asked me to kind of define what I wrote, and I always said that for me there seem to be two types of writers. There are the writers that sit down and say, I have something to say, or I have a point that I want to make, or an issue that I want to explore, and that's a certain kind of writer, and I call them the writers as artists, I call them. And then I think there's the other kind of writer that sits down and says, okay, let's try and entertain everybody. And that's what I do. And it's surprisingly few of us actually who actually come at a play from that point of view. I mean, I'm literally, as I'm writing, thinking, is this funny? Is enough happening? Is this entertaining? Do I need to speed it up? Do I need to throw something else in here? And that's always been the way I write. And I think there have been people who've done that. Neil Simon sort of famously did that. He always came at things from entertainment comedy viewpoint. Noel Coward back in the 30s did it. But actually, if you look at plays written in the last 10 years, you will only find a handful of plays that you could say, oh, well, this is clearly just written as a piece of entertainment. 90% of them are clearly written because the author is feeling suicidal. And, and so that's what I hope Just a Ticket is. It's just sort of a celebration of life and just some fun and entertainment. If you want something heavy and you want to be depressed, there's lots and lots of wonderful material. But if you want to let your hair down and have a cocktail and have a nice time, that's what this show is for.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. I
have a dog now. Hang on.
Yes, show us the dog. We love dogs.
Come here.
Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh! I love him.
This is Oscar.
Hi, Oscar.
He's a lovely boy, aren't you?
Oh my
Yeah.
god! Oh, he can come and visit me anytime.
Yeah, he's adorable. I like to include him in my Zoom calls so that people have something attractive to look at. There you go. There you go. That's better, isn't it?
Now that sounded like a Susan joke, if I've ever heard one.
There you go. We're going to say goodbye to the nice people in Naples. Yeah? Okay. All right.
Bye, Oscar.
Nice
Bye,
talk to
Peter.
you. Okay, see you. Bye.
Have a great day. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Well, yeah, that was so wonderful to get to talk with him. He's such a nice, funny guy. I can definitely see how he wrote the part of Susan. So let me see. I've got some questions here. So first question I'm going to ask is for Pam, and I bet you knew this one was going to come. Usually in every talkback, the actors are asked, so how did you learn all these lines? And usually there's some kind of answer about, oh, well, we practice a lot. Oh, well, repetition, things like that. But genuinely, I am asking, how did you learn all these lines? Because this is an entirely different feat.
I started back in March pretty seriously. And I was also quickly became aware that because I am age appropriate to Susan, that's also a greater challenge as far as the memorization goes. But what I tend to work backwards. I'll take a paragraph and I learn the last line, and then I learn the next to last line and say the last line, and then and I work it backwards so that by the time I've got the first line of the paragraph, I've done the whole thing a number of times. And I was lucky enough to be working a temp job where I had very little to do. So I'm sitting at a desk just talking to myself. But it was a lot of really rote things because she just talks. It is such a stream of consciousness. And it was scary in rehearsal because up to 9th hour, I still had blocks of places where it's like, I don't know what's next. Once they gave me, I'm like, okay, I know. But now, whether it's because of just doing it enough and also being able to connect where I am on stage to what I'm talking about also helps a lot too. But it was lots of hours of just memorization. But I'm not afraid of having Alzheimer's in the future.
Thank you. Excellent. Karen, what stood out? I know, well, obviously, I personally know how many one person or very small cast plays that you have read, not only in preparation for this season, but also in the past. What stood out about Just the Ticket for you that made you want to produce and direct it?
Well, we were we were looking, I was looking specifically, to tell you the truth, for a property for Pam. So we looked at a number, we looked at a number of different pieces that she could have done. And this one had so much joy to it. And I figured we were in a place where we really needed some joy in our lives. And Susan really spoke to me. From the moment she walks on the stage and all of her airport habits, like checking the gate a million times and checking your ticket a million times, not finding that I've lived this, and not just as an older woman, but from the time I was in my 20s and started air travel, I've lived all of those experiences. So I found her very relatable, and there was so much joy in her, and so much, and I think she wins in the end. I don't know whether winning means she ends up with Bill, but I do think that she wins at the end. And I liked a happy ending, because I think whether she's with Bill or not, it's a happy ending for Susan.
I agree. So Mary Ellen, you were part of this process fairly early on, because not only did you do the lighting design for this show and Florida Girls, but you also helped come up with the plot for the outdoor stage in general that's going to go throughout the whole summer. So we thank you for that. That's one of the things that made me laugh, is that Peter's dog is named Oscar, and somehow throughout our first 6 days of tech, where we were discovering that we really needed visors, or that, the stage gets too hot, so Pam actually can't be barefoot on it. We need to figure out slippers instead. But somewhere in that week, we also dubbed the stage the Oscar P. Swebbins stage, in honor of Mary Ellen Stebbins and the Swaders. And then it just made me laugh, because for some reason we chose Oscar, and Peter's dog's name is Oscar. So Mary Ellen, tell us a little bit about the process and the challenges of designing a lighting plot for an outdoor season.
Yeah, sure. Well, first of all, so many people across the country are trying to crack this nut. So it's been a pleasure to get to be one of those people, and to be in conversation with colleagues nationwide about how to do this. I think we wanted to make a space, and I say we, the Swader twins, crucial to this. The three of us spent a lot of time figuring this out. We wanted to make a space that looked like an event, whether or not it was dark outside, whether or not we had good weather or bad weather. And I think that it was important to us that we make a space that felt special, that would sort of work for a lot of people, and something where we could transform it. And one of my favorite things about working outdoors with the lighting is that as the sun sets, you get the benefit of the natural lighting change and the theatrical lighting change. And my hope is that by the time you notice the theatrical lights are on, you've had this sort of gorgeous slide into the theatrical world that you weren't quite expecting. But obviously, a few of the challenges: weather. We have to make sure that our gear is safe. Rust was an unexpected, I guess I should have paid more attention in chemistry. Obviously, metal and water don't mix. But dealing with that, trying to make something that worked within our limits, didn't obstruct sight lines for the audience. I have to put the lights up in the air. So how do we get them above your head without something really complicated? We came up with the scaffolding towers, which allowed us to build the set. If you were to go behind the stage, you would see that the whole thing is supported by a scaffolding structure, which allows us to build very tall and very wide, in a really safe way. And so that was a huge thing to be able to use as the structure in order to make it possible to build something that felt large enough in scale with the parking lot. We've seen a lot of stuff that's just sort of a platform in space, and we wanted to make something that felt more substantial than that. And so, I don't know. The other challenge that you might note, if you're someone who's attended a matinee performance, you would notice that there are no lights in the matinee performances. So really working closely with the sound designer to make sure that all of those little changes in theater that you expect from the lighting to tell you we're going to a different room, we're going to a different scene, making sure that sound is closely connected with those, even more so that even if you don't have the benefit of seeing the lights in the matinee, you can hear moving into the room. And then in the evening performances, you get to actually see it. So I don't know if that answered the question, but that's a little bit of background about how it was to do this production.
Absolutely. Emma, you first joined the BBT crew in the 2018 season as the assistant stage manager, which is quite a different process from stage managing, as well as a quote unquote normal year versus this year. So how has the process differed from your previous experience as an assistant stage manager at Bristol Valley?
I don't have a stage manager to make the decisions for me. It's my job. Just, I guess, preparing was kind of the same. I read the play and took note of like different technical elements and stuff, and just like kind of got prepared that way. But I think that's probably the biggest thing is like I don't have someone like above me. I'm not the assistant. I am the stage manager, I guess. Is how the main difference from last time I was here.
And you didn't get sunstroke in any of our performances in 2018.
True. Yes, I did not die of sun poisoning.
You know, I think that's been an adjustment for all of us. We're all used to spending our summers inside the theater for the most part, and being outdoors is scary. There's sun and wind and
bugs.
I'll tell you, I will tell this story. I went today, I had to go to Rochester, and I took off at 3:30 or something. It took me 2 hours to make the 1 hour drive because for some reason, my GPS took me through a hurricane. I normally would go along the highway, but it took me through Mendon and Bloomfield, and there was literally a microburst or a hurricane, and all I could think of was, is that hitting Naples? What is it going to do to our stage? And I was calling Angela and said, do you have this storm down there? Which fortunately we did not, but it was terrifying, the thought of what would happen to our stage if the elements like that got a hold of it.
I would also add something that, we're creatures of habit. We're used to making theater in our dark boxes that we have all of our toys in. And there are so many things that we sort of take for granted in the making of theater. We have a lot of technology that makes what we do possible. And to recreate that infrastructure in an outdoor setting, it really makes you think about, what do we need? How does this work? What are other ways we communicate? I mean, if you're sitting in the audience, what you may not realize is that there's someone backstage who's available to assist Pam if she needs something, to cut the power if we were in a storm. And Emma can communicate with this person over a headset, but making that happen, outside of our theater was a feat. So it was a fun exercise as a theater maker to go through, okay, what are the things that I walk into a theater and expect to be there? How do I translate those outside? What do we keep? What do we not keep? And how do we do this in a smart way? So that was exciting to figure out and challenging.
Basically, and starting with chairs. We realized we didn't have enough chairs at the beginning of this, when we started dreaming that we dreamt it up, and then it was like, heck, we don't have 50 chairs. And so then you had to find chairs that were comfortable, that could be outdoors, that could be sanitized, and that didn't get hot in the sun all day, and that we could afford. And God bless the Home Depot and Walmart. That's where we got our chairs.
Yes, we, for those of you who don't know, there's a couple more designers. The Swaders who are in tech are not with us. We have a couple more designers who are not with us tonight, but whose work is super appreciated and shows through in the play. Rich Miller did a great job with sound design, which Rich Miller has been a sound designer with us for many, many years. And he's always someone we can count on to make sure that everything sounds great. And we really put him through his paces this year because speak of the devil. Oh my gosh. Hi.
He's spying on us. We just were talking about you. Did you know that? Oh, he's not hearing it.
I was literally just talking about you.
Just talking about you, Rich.
Give me just a second.
Oh,
are you there? Can you hear us, Rich?
Now I can.
Yay.
Hi.
Hi.
I literally was just talking about you. I was saying that you weren't in our meeting just yet, but your sound design is really important to the show. And I was about to compliment you because you're always someone we can rely on to make sure that that everyone sounds great inside the theater, but sounding great outdoors is an entire different mountain to climb. And it really is, I that was something that I didn't realize how excited I would be walking into the outdoor theater and being able to hear music so crisp and hearing Pam's voice just ring out so clear. Sorry to bombard you as soon as you enter the meeting, but
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
yeah, can you tell us a little bit about like what was it like designing for sound outdoors?
It was interesting. Especially outdoors near other people, because we weren't in like a big open field that was something I didn't want to destroy the neighbors. So it was really kind of controlling that sound, but making it clear enough for the audience that was there to do it. So it was a fun challenge, as well as giving sound for the actors on the stage to be able to hear, because I think that was another important element of it. So it was a fun challenge to do.
And I've been to many outdoor events, Rich, where I can't hear a single thing. So I could hear really hats off to you, because it was such a joy to be in that space working. From day one, your stuff sounded so great.
Oh, thank you. It was, everything came into place. I love it when a plan comes together.
Absolutely. Shout out to Joan Luther, who just asked the question, has everyone bought a ticket to BVT's October Cash Bash?
Oh.
Thank you, Joan, doing great work. There is information on our website about BVT's October Cash Bash. We're selling tickets for $20 and you can win all sorts of money in October. Thank you, Joan. And another thing that I was interested in asking is, there's a lot of great music in this play. Were those all suggested by the script? How were the music choices made?
Interesting question. The script, being a very British script, called for a whole another selection of songs. So I think between Karen and Pam, they came up with a lovely set of dance tunes for themselves. So I think.
Well, and interestingly, when we envisioned this whole season, one of the things that we wanted to do was tell American stories, because America had been, because I don't know, we're feeling a moment of togetherness with our country folk. So we wanted to call the season 7 Americans, but Just the Ticket was a decidedly British play written by a British playwright. So we wrote to Peter Quilter and said, would you mind if we Americanized the script? And he said, go for it. Maybe this will mean that he can get more American productions. He referenced in his conversation earlier, Rich, that you missed, that they haven't been very many American productions. But Pam Fike herself went through the script and Americanized it and turned it from, instead of a tin of sardines, it's a can of tuna fish. Instead, just things that were more references. Nothing in the story is different, but just what we call things is different than British people call some things. And just turns of phrase. She Americanized it completely. So she did all of the great work on that. And then, as Rich said, we had to sort of pick some songs. Well, I'll tell you what, I heard the song Ring My Bell one day in passing. And I was like, oh, I love that song. We should put that song in the show. So that was the first one. And then once I got started picking fun music that I liked, and I sort of went with this idea that they should all have something to do with dancing, because a few of them had something to do with dancing, and she does some dancing in the play several places. And I thought, okay, let's make that a theme of what the musics are. So that was sort of, there's a lot of good music about dancing.
There's a lot of great music.
We've had fun listening just to the pre-show tape. I dance around the parking lot every night.
Yeah. There was a fun week in the office where there would just there'd be another, like a new disco song that would pop on from Karen's office for us to dance to. Another one of the designers who couldn't make it tonight, her name is Elizabeth Porter Woods, and she is our costume designer. She actually did everything remotely, which was very different from how we usually do things. She designed remotely, and then we have a costume assistant in Naples. His name is Zach, who actually was the one who did the fittings and does any alterations. And fun fact, Liz Porter Woods designed this show like a couple of days before she gave birth. So congratulations to Liz Porter Woods and her beautiful family, and thank you for her work on this, as well as Florida Girls, when I know that she was, you know, busy creating a whole person. Pam, when you first read the play, how did you feel a connection with Susan?
Well, I did, although it was interesting when I read it as an English play. You know, I read it out loud, I put on an English accent, I'm having a great time. And then after I worked to Americanize it and read it out loud as an American, it just sat with me in a completely different place. It just seemed, I hope I wouldn't have done this as an actor, but I felt like it was more of a caricature of an English woman. I feel like the American Susan just comes from a very real place with me, and very relatable. We were fortunate that the DNC and the Messenger out of Canandaigua did a beautiful article about the season and interviewed some of the actors. And one of the things he interviewed and he asked, he goes, you know, do you relate to Susan? And I said, I remarried almost 6 years ago. And I said, if I hadn't met my husband, I would be Susan. It's not a lot of acting going on. I would be saying inappropriate things and talking too much all the time. So there's just, I mean, I have friends my age, some who have never married, you know, I mean, and it's like, it's all real stuff. It may be a little exaggerated for the comedy, but it's very real. And there are moments of poignancy that highlight the humor, because you kind of use all your emotions, which I really like a lot about the show.
Yes, I agree. I think all of us see a little bit of Susan in ourselves at moments, for sure. Mary Ellen, could you talk briefly about the Swaders came up with such a cool concept for the set for this show. Could you talk a little bit about what their inspiration was?
Sure, yeah. Well, one thing that's important to say is that we wanted to make sure there was a big difference between this show and Florida Girls. And so that was in the back of our mind, sort of part of this, because we knew they'd be presented as a pair and of sorts, and that people might see them both back to back. So when we looked at this show, we thought, okay, it's about travel. We have to go a lot of places, but we don't have time or ability to, you know, change the sets around. And also the play doesn't do that. The play is sort of a romp through Susan's life in real time. So she kind of magically appears in different places. And so we were inspired by, you know, what are the things that you have when you travel? The idea of the postcards sort of giving you a fun, colorful background. We wanted the piece to feel as vibrant and fun as Susan. There's so many references in the text to her wacky clothes and her personality. Even the drinks that she makes at the bar are all colorful. And so the idea that everything about this set had a lot of life, and the references through travel, you know, if you look closely at the set, all of the set pieces are covered in some sort of travel reference, whether it be an airline ticket or a bus schedule or things like that. So it was all kind of infused in the energy of being in a new place and discovering, you know, we don't see Susan go to a lot of places, but we hear that she's been all over. So we wanted to give the sense that she really had in her pocketbook all these things from her travels. And I think that combined with the costume and the fun accessories and the props, you get this vibrant, like, jump off the stage at you picture that perfectly complements her chattering and her going on and her sort of effervescent personality. So that was our inspiration behind it. And also we wanted to make sure that Karen had a space where she could move Pam around and allow her to inhabit different places without too much fuss. So as you notice, there's only a few set pieces, and Pam moves one of them quite expertly multiple times in the show to give the sense that we are changing location, but when we're viewing the stage as a whole, we don't feel like, oh, well, that can only be that one place and it's still on stage. Why is it still there? Because we knew that Pam didn't have the ability to remove things throughout the show, and we didn't really have the ability to have other people come and move them. So, challenges of creating a unit set, but I think it's beautiful. I think it allows you to pop, and I think it's successful. But I don't know, Karen, you might also have some thoughts on this, because I know that you had some strong opinions.
Well, the biggest challenge was we had to be in so many different places and still have room to dance, because there's dancing referred to throughout the script. And I was like, we have to have room for her to move around. Same with the costumes. It's written that she has full on costume changes into a bathing suit and several party dresses. We only bring one of them out in our version. So that was the first thing we had to solve, is how are we going? We didn't want to stop and have her go behind a screen and change her clothes and come back and we wait for 5 minutes while that happened. Because if you ever tried to get in a bathing suit outdoors in a hot day,
Oh gosh, could you imagine? Oh,
you don't do that quickly. So we came up with this idea of the clothes, just showing us, taking the clothes out of the suitcase, and everything pretty much comes out of the suitcase, and having that sort of indicate what she would be wearing if we were doing it in a more realistic way. But the fun fact I do want to share is that postcards that the Swader brothers created are postcards. That's not listed in the script at all. They came up with that idea, and they also have two of them. You can read the message. And they're actually postcards that Susan wrote to her mother on her first trip when she went with her girlfriends. And they're addressed to Luella Stanley. And Susan is never listed as having a last name. So the Swader brothers came to me and said, does Susan have a last name? And I said, no. And they said, do you think it could be Stanley? And I said, I don't care. Because Luella Stanley is their grandmother.
Yes.
So they named that those two postcards are written to the Swader brothers' grandmother. So I found that sort of charming that their family is represented on the set.
Oh, that's wonderful.
It is. Can I pop in real quick? In this conversation about the set, one of the things I absolutely love the most about being part of this production is that it's to me, it's the core of what theater is all about. You don't have to have literal things. You give the audience a suggestion and they run with it and they go with you wherever you want them to go. And when so often I see theater and everything is so literal, and there are walls and there are chairs and there's everything, which sometimes that's fine. But this is like, it's just, oh, we're at the beach. Oh, we're in the bar. Oh, and everybody comes with you. And I think that's just brilliant and makes it much more interesting for the audience as well.
It also allows us to see it through your eyes, Pam, that we all get the chance to sort of imagine the world that you are telling us about and put it in our context. And I think that that's a really powerful tool in theater that a lot of times photorealism takes away from us. Yes. Because we don't get the chance to internalize that and say, that's how I see it. That's what that airport looks like to me and feels like to me. So, and you do such a great job using the materials you've been given to demonstrate how you inhabit those worlds, to give us that chance.
Thank you.
And I love one of the other things, not only do the bright colors reflect Susan's personality, but they also reflect, when you're on vacation, when you're on a fabulous vacation, everything is in Technicolor. You're experiencing it at 12. On a scale of 1 to 10, it's a 12 because you're on vacation and you haven't been there before. And the drinks are bright and colorful. And so those bright colors really give sort of, I posted a new cover photo on Facebook today of one of the shots, the production shots that we took, and it was just like, whoa! It was so Technicolor bright and charming and vivid that it sort of makes you have a little bit more of that experience that Susan is having.
Absolutely. Well, wonderful. Thank you all so much for joining us. Before we sign off, I'm just going to ask everyone to give their favorite Susan moment of the show. I think for mine, I'm going to say it's towards the very end where she says something, very sincere about how this, this trip is over, but it has been wonderful and it's changed her. And then she immediately just points at someone and yells something about how there's a fish that will swim up your penis at the location he's going to. And that's Susan for me. Mary Ellen, what's your favorite Susan moment?
I was about to say the same thing. But a little earlier in the scene, I love the part when she sees Bill in the boat at the beach and she goes nuts and tries to offer him the ham sandwich. I just because I identify with that. You see someone that you feel really strongly about and you sort of fall over yourself and then have to recover. I just love that. And she looks right at it. I'm not smitten. And I think that's so great.
Emma, what's your favorite?
Just this.
I love that. Rich, what about you?
Even though it was a created moment, her pulling the little shoes out of her waistband, such a perfect thing.
Oh, that's wonderful. Karen, what about you?
Oh, I love the line, I'm a softie. I love it when she says, I could go one way or I could go home and be myself. And that's the only thing I really know how to be. The only thing I was ever good at. And I was like, that speaks to me.
Yes, absolutely. And Pam?
From the comedic side, I love sort of the bookend jokes about James on the plane, that she talks to him for the whole time, that she honestly believes that he mistakenly gave her the wrong phone number. And so when he's like, get this woman away from me, it's probably a 555 number that, anywhere. But she's like, who knew? And she really believes that. One of the lines that strikes me, and I don't know why, so deep to my core, she talked about her parents not really praising them and things. And she says, a child who shows off is, of course, a terrible thing, but it's preferable to a child who has nothing to show off about. Mm. And I think there's that little bit of a core in Susan, because most of what she talks is really kind of self-depreciating, and she's working hard in her life and has made such a, and is a happy person. And yet there's this little bit of a core that she had to work to get there, I think. So.
Excellent. Wonderful. Thank you all so much. If you haven't seen Just the Ticket yet, we have 3 more performances. This one closes on June 25th. So thank you to the cast and crew for joining us tonight. And thank you all for joining us on Zoom and on YouTube. And we will see you at the theater soon.